Have you ever tried growing ginger at home only to dig it up months later and find these tiny, sad little roots that barely even look like ginger? You know the drill. You water it, you wait, and either absolutely nothing happens or the result is just incredibly disappointing. Honestly, it's so easy to blame yourself, to think, well, I just don't have a green thumb, or to assume ginger is some super difficult exotic plant that only survives in perfect tropical conditions. But actually, that couldn't be further from the truth. Ginger is one of the most generous plants you can possibly grow at home. Most people fail simply because nobody told them the few crucial things that actually matter. Welcome to this explainer. Today, through some really high-quality photos and animations, we're going completely step-by-step through a chronological journey to guarantee you a massive harvest. We're going to transform a dormant grocery store root into a thriving, abundant crop. So let's dive right in.
Here is our roadmap. We've got 6 clear stages: choosing and prepping rhizomes, creating the perfect soil environment, planting and mulching rules, watering and feeding, troubleshooting problems, and finally, harvesting and prepping for next season.
All right, Section 1. Choosing and prepping rhizomes. This is all about setting the foundation for growth.
Okay, so the ceiling of your entire harvest is actually determined before your ginger even touches the soil. You could do literally everything else perfectly, but if you start with the wrong piece of ginger, you are going to end up with a weak crop. You want a rhizome that feels plump, firm, and heavy in your hand, with plenty of little bumps. Those are called growth buds or eyes. But look at the difference here. There is a massive distinction between organic and conventional ginger. Buying from a grocery store is perfectly fine, but you absolutely must choose organic. Conventional ginger found in most supermarkets is often treated with a chemical sprout inhibitor. It's designed to keep it from budding on the shelf so it looks prettier for longer. But if you plant that treated ginger, that chemical works right against you. It'll just sit in the dirt doing absolutely nothing. Organic ginger, on the other hand, hasn't been treated. It's alive, responsive, and just eager to wake up.
Once you have your organic rhizome, do not skip this next step. You need to soak your ginger overnight in room temperature water for about 8 to 12 hours. This rehydrates the rhizome and signals to the plant that, hey, conditions are good, it's time to grow. But here is a little secret upgrade for you. Add 1 teaspoon of hydrogen peroxide for every cup of water. Hydrogen peroxide is a powerful natural sanitizer. It kills off unseen fungal spores and bacteria on the surface of your rhizome that could cause rot before it even sprouts. It basically gives your ginger a totally clean slate. After the soak, pull them out and let them air dry on a clean surface for 1 to 2 days.
Now you might be wondering, why are we air drying them? Well, we do this for a really crucial reason. We're waiting for a callus to form. If you've broken or cut your pieces apart to plant them, you need to let those open wounds heal. A callus is just a dry, slightly hardened layer that seals up the cut end. It acts as a natural barrier against rot once the ginger is sitting in moist soil. Skipping this and planting freshly cut, wet rhizomes, that is the fastest way to lose your entire crop. So be patient. Let that callus form.
Section 2. The perfect soil environment. Let's talk wide pots and custom mixes.
Even a perfectly prepped rhizome is going to struggle if its home isn't right. Ginger has a very specific way it likes to grow. It actually spreads outward horizontally rather than plunging deep downward. Because of that horizontal growth, a wide pot is far more important than a deep pot. You want to choose a container that is at least 12 to 14 inches across and just 8 to 10 inches deep. If you squeeze ginger into a narrow, deep pot, it literally won't have room to spread out. And please make for sure your container has excellent open drainage holes at the bottom so the roots don't suffocate.
So the crucial point here is finding the exact right soil balance. Just dumping in commercial potting soil by itself isn't ideal. Let's break down the ultimate custom soil recipe, which you can see in this animated chart. You want 50%, so 2 parts of a good quality potting soil for your base structure. Then add 25% or 1 part compost. This brings in essential nutrients and all that beneficial microbial activity. Finally, add 25%, 1 part perlite. Those little lightweight white particles create air pockets, making sure the mix drains fast enough that the roots never sit wet for too long.
Right before you fill your container, you can actually give your ginger an unfair advantage by mixing in 2 very targeted amendments. First up, add a spoonful of bone meal per pot. Bone meal is super rich in phosphorus, which is the mineral most responsible for massive underground root and rhizome development. Second, if you have it on hand, add a light dusting of wood ash for potassium. Potassium supports the overall vigor of the plant. And remember, a healthy plant above ground means a highly productive plant below ground.
Section 3. Planting and mulching rules. And the name of the game here is keeping it shallow.
Okay, this is where I see even really experienced gardeners make a devastating mistake that completely ruins their harvest. I want you to burn this number into your memory: 1 to 2. You absolutely must plant your rhizomes just 1 to 2 inches below the soil surface. Ginger is a shallow plant. If you bury it deep, it'll struggle to push through the soil, and the moisture deep down will often just rot the ginger before it ever even sprouts. So barely cover it with your soil mix and make sure those little pointed growth buds are facing directly upward toward the surface. If you're planting a few of them, space them about 6 to 8 inches apart.
Once planted, just gently press the surface down and top the soil with a half-inch layer of mulch. Things like straw, dried leaves, or wood chips work perfectly for this. This thin layer is essential protection for your shallowly planted rhizomes. It stops the soil moisture from evaporating too quickly, and it regulates the soil temperature. In cooler weather, that temperature regulation alone can literally be the difference between your ginger sprouting right on time or sitting totally dormant.
Moving right along to section 4, watering, light, and feeding. We're going to use what's called the wrung-out sponge method. Ongoing plant care requires a pretty delicate balance for a plant that absolutely loves moisture but suffocates in wet feet. I love this vivid sensory analogy from our source material. You want your soil to feel like a wrung-out sponge. That is exactly what you are aiming for. Don't just water on a fixed schedule. Instead, stick your finger about an inch into the soil. Every 2 to 3 days. If it feels dry at that depth, go ahead and water it. But if it still feels damp, like that wrung-out sponge, hold off and wait another day. This simple, easy habit will 100% save your plants from rotting.
Now for some advanced care tactics. First, try bottom watering. Place your pot in a tray of water for 20 to 30 minutes so it pulls moisture up from below. This keeps the topsoil dry, which prevents mold, and it trains the roots to grow strong and deep. Second, remember that ginger is tropical. It loves humidity. Mist it every few days. Third, for light, ginger actually hates harsh midday sun. It'll scorch the leaves, but deep shade stops growth altogether. You want bright, indirect light. Morning sun and afternoon shade is the absolute sweet spot. Finally, ginger is hungry. Feed it a low-nitrogen liquid fertilizer, like compost tea, every 2 to 3 weeks. Nitrogen gives you lots of leafy growth, but we want phosphorus and potassium for those big underground roots.
Section 5. Troubleshooting common plant problems. Let's diagnose the issues before they get out of hand.
Hiccups are just inevitable, right? But early detection is the absolute difference between saving your crop and losing it entirely. Now, this right here is the most anxiety-inducing problem for beginners. You plant it, a month goes by, and crickets. Nothing happens. If you're anxiously asking yourself this question, the answer usually lies directly in the soil itself.
70 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the minimum soil temperature ginger requires to germinate. This is something so many growers completely overlook. If you're in a cooler climate, or maybe you're planting in early spring, your soil might just be too cold. The quickest, easiest solution is placing a seedling heat mat right under the pot to maintain that nice, warm soil temperature. It can completely transform your germination results overnight. Now, if temperature isn't the issue, double-check that you didn't accidentally buy conventionally treated ginger. Here's a super handy triage guide for you. If you see yellow leaves, you are likely overwatering, or your drainage is poor. Make sure water flows freely out the bottom. If you dig down and find rotting rhizomes, you either planted them too deep or you kept them way too wet. Just carefully remove the rot, let things dry out, and replant them shallowly. And if your plant looks stunted, short, and just kinda sad, it lacks light or food. Move it to a brighter spot with indirect light and give it a good liquid feed. And finally, Section 6, Harvesting and Next Season. Time to reap the rewards. This is hands down the most exciting part of the explainer, where all your hard work actually pays off. A full ginger harvest typically happens 8 to 10 months after planting. You'll know it's time when the tall foliage naturally yellows and dies back. That means the plant has sent all its energy back down into the rhizomes. But get this incredible insider tip. At 4 to 5 months, you can actually do a partial harvest. Just carefully brush away some of the dirt at the outer edge of your container, snap off a young, tender rhizome piece to cook with, and cover the rest back up. The main plant will just keep right on growing, giving you the best of both worlds.
And here is the final secret to consistently massive harvests year after year. When you finally do your full harvest, whatever you do not eat your very best pieces. Seriously, set aside the biggest, firmest, most bud-covered rhizomes. Store them carefully in a cool, dry place and use them as your planting stock for next season. By doing this, you're selectively replanting your absolute best genetics, which means your harvests will literally just keep getting bigger and better every single year.
Let's wrap things up with this awesome quote right from our source material.
Ginger rewards growers who pay attention. It rewards the folks who build good soil, who water with intention rather than just out of habit, and who set the stage properly from day one. You now have the complete roadmap to transform a simple grocery store route into an endless, massive harvest. So, my question to you is, what's the very first step you're going to take in your own ginger growing journey this weekend? Think about it, and